welcome to our Minds in Motion podcast. This is a podcast about how we grew as learners and learned about ourselves as a group and individuals. My name is Penelope Freeman Sampson, and I will be your host today. Our first guest today will be Ayla Perry, a peer of mine that has grown and developed a better understanding of herself as a learner and of thinking strategies. Welcome, Ayla. How are you?
I'm doing good today. Thank you for having me.
So I have a few questions for you today, starting with how has your learning strategy changed over the past year?
Spanish class has changed my thinking in many ways. For example, in the beginning of the year, I would just do the bare minimum of what Profe asked us to do, without trying to think about it on a deeper level or create a better understanding of what I was learning.
What methods or tools have you found most effective in your language?
Well, throughout my learning journey, there have been many tools and methods that we have used, one of them being Profe's teaching style. We had story times to learn vocabulary where we would all sit down as a class and Profe would read a story to us. It was really fun and enjoyable, which I think helped me learn. Second was Friday routines, Gimkit or Jeopardy. It's where at the end of the week we would review what we learned through a game or a fun activity. Instead of stressful activities, we played these games, which made learning fun, easy, and competitive. Stressful assignments put pressure on me and created an environment where I would rush through the assignment and not create a deeper understanding. The third tool I used often was my peers. Whenever I was stuck, I would go to my peers for help. There was a fun and easy environment between everyone, with trust and respect also. My peers let me build off their knowledge so that I can think about the situation on a...
That's great. I love how you learned from that. I have another question for you. In what ways has building upon your existing knowledge and integrating input from peers enriched your overall Spanish learning journey?
Well, like what I said before about my relationship with my peers, I believe that they've made it easier and more interesting throughout the journey. My peers are somebody to look to when I need help. We add on to each other's ideas and compromise so that we can create a better understanding. Schema, background knowledge, was also important to understand better. Having friends that live in Spain and having a Spanish exchange student, I had some background knowledge on the language. I think that my schema helped me not only with assignments, but with my confidence levels too. It helped me make my learning more enjoyable because I know that I already knew something.
That's a great learning experience, Ayla. I have a few last questions for you. How do you connect different elements of your Spanish studies, such as grammar, vocabulary, and cultural insights, to your learn?
I feel like learning about conjugation helped me understand Spanish as a whole. I'm not exactly sure what about it made sense for me. The way Profe taught it, how it was specific rules, or how we addressed conjugations itself. Conjugation helped me have a base, something I know and can connect to whatever I'm learning at the moment in Spanish class.
Could you tell me more about those aspects that helped you learn?
Yes. I think probably the aspect that was most helpful was how there were just 5 rules to know. To connect that to the way Profe taught it, they weren't rules we were expected to memorize day 1 of the lesson. Profe introduced us to the rules by giving us a paper with the unconjugated word next to the conjugated word. Then we would analyze the paper and try to formulate the rules in our own way of thinking. This helped me get a grip on the subject through my own eyes and words. I think that this really helped me understand Spanish because it was the first thing I had learned that I could apply to almost everything in Spanish speaking.
That's great that you learned so much from Spanish class this year. And I really hope you had a fun time on this podcast. We're going to move on to our next guest now, Jordan.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here today.
Today we're going to be talking about your learning experience in Spanish. How has your Spanish learning strategies changed over the past year?
It's really changed in a way that I can find my own way to do finding my own learning strategy and finding people around me to help support me was a key thing for me learning Spanish and finding a way to... Another thing that helped me grow in my Spanish experience was having a good teacher and having a good teaching style that she taught us to help. The way that my approach has changed is right now I'm a lot more open to learning and finding new things to work on than I was at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, I was really closed off and didn't really trust a lot of my classmates or teacher. But as the year went on, I was able to find my groove and learn more effectively and more...
Adding on to that question, what methods or tools have you found most effective in your...
Yeah, so I think something good with that was the activities that we would do in our class and the things that the teacher would teach us. We would play fun games that weren't stressful and do things like stories and learn new words along with our teacher beside us, helping us through. Something that I really like about the learning strategies we used is that they weren't stressful assignments. Stressful assignments would cause me to feel stressed and pressured with a little amount of time to complete it. It would create an environment where I would not grow in my learning and development. That's why I think the teaching styles that we are taught are so helpful from learning and memorizing.
That's amazing. How has your problem-solving skills in Spanish class contributed to your vocabulary and comprehension growth? Can you build?
Yeah, so I think this really connects to the first question you asked about like different skills and strategies and like games and activities that we've done to help grow on it. So some of the problem-solving techniques are some of the strategies that we've used in class to help us discover new words and concepts. So like being able to do the stories or even the games that we play on Fridays are really helpful because then it gives you a different way to learn things and it really helps you like grasp that concept.
In what ways has building upon your existing knowledge and integrating input from peers enriched your overall Spanish learning journey?
I have been able to build upon my peers and myself upon past knowledge by being able to build upon things that I already knew and then building it from there. So by using background schema and things that I already knew, like maybe at the beginning of the year or from past years in my life, but with the stuff that we learned, I was able to build upon it and learn different ways and stuff to learn.
How has making connections between different aspects of Spanish class enhanced your understanding of the language and culture?
It has enhanced my understanding by being able to build off other people and being able to make those connections to things I knew in the past and things that I'm learning right now. So being able to really draw those connections really helps me learn better and build different aspects of Spanish class that really helps me understand it a lot better. It also helps build my understanding.
Thank you so much for telling me all of this. Well, that was our last question for today, and I really hope that you enjoyed this podcast and our learning experiences. Thank you for listening. The main idea of this podcast was so you can all understand what we learned from Spanish and why it's not just words. It's actually very important because it engages the brain in a deep thinking experience. I learned a lot too. I learned that they have different ways of learning, and I hope they enjoy this podcast. Thank you.
Learning.